Hey everybody, welcome back to another video, and today we're talking about the craziness of Donald Trump and how he's clearly losing his mind and getting worse by the day. Now, I want to make it clear, I'm not saying that psychologically he's losing his mind because I'm not a doctor, I can't make that determination. However, if that was true, that wouldn't surprise me. But what I am saying is that Donald Trump continues to spout more and more crazy conspiracy theories that no rational person would believe. So we're going to take a look at some of his recent statements because they're just full of lies. So first and foremost, it's very clear that things are not going well for Donald Trump. I mean, in the week since he announced that he's running for president again in 2024, he received 4 criminal referrals from the January 6th committee, making him the only president in American history to be criminally referred by Congress. His company was also convicted of tax fraud, and his handpicked Senate candidate in Georgia, Herschel Walker, lost his race. But of course, those aren't the only things, if you can even believe it. He also called for the termination of the Constitution, and his approval rating and his numbers in the polls continued to go down rapidly. And as you can see from this article in the New York Magazine, Trump is lonely, he's isolated, not many people in the Republican Party are supporting him anymore. The journalists went to Mar-a-Lago themselves and interviewed Donald Trump and many other advisors and allies of him. Like, his campaign announcement was met with negative reviews, not only from the American people, but people within the Republican Party as well. So these circumstances have put Donald Trump in a weird position. I mean, we all know that he's an egotistical maniac, and when the spotlight is not on him, he freaks out. And that is why I believe these statements continue to get crazier and crazier. So for example, this statement he put out when the January 6th committee withdrew their subpoena of him. He said, "Was just advised that the unselect committee of political thugs has withdrawn the subpoena of me concerning the January 6th protest of the crooked 2020 presidential election. They probably did so because they know I did nothing wrong or they were about to lose in court." So like, obviously none of that is true. Simply, the January 6th committee withdrew their subpoena because they ran out of time. The new Congress is getting sworn in soon, and of course the Republicans control the House of Representatives, which means they were going to get rid of the January 6th committee. So the committee concluded their investigation, and unfortunately they were not able to receive Donald Trump's testimony. However, that doesn't mean that he didn't do anything wrong. And of course, he knows this. He's just not being honest with the people that follow him. In fact, it would not surprise me if the Department of Justice subpoenas Donald Trump instead, and the Department of Justice just basically picks up from where the January 6th committee left off. And like, clearly he knows this because he hasn't fired his January 6th lawyers. They're still very much on his payroll. So if all of his January 6th trouble was over and he really thought that he didn't do anything wrong and the committee backed off, then he wouldn't have these lawyers anymore. Regardless, he knows that the Department of Justice is on his tail, but for some reason he's trying to convince his followers otherwise. So here's another statement, and this one's about Hunter Biden. So he said, "It's just been learned that the FBI office that is investigating Hunter Biden sent many censorship requests to keep all of his bad news confidential just prior to the 2020 election." And he went on to say, in other words, the exact same people that were investigating him were making sure that he doesn't get any bad publicity. And of course, that is also just not true. Unfortunately, I can't show any of these on screen, but number one, the FBI office that is investigating Hunter Biden did not send any censorship requests to anybody. Like, I have no idea where this conspiracy theory came from. I really think he just made it up. And number two, the only time the Biden campaign ever reached out to anybody to take down any posts was when Hunter Biden's explicit images were being spread on social media. And remember, these pictures were posted without his consent. So of course the Biden campaign is going to ask that these photos not be posted anywhere. It's not to censor a story about Hunter Biden, it's to protect the privacy of a private citizen. Regardless, there's no point in debunking this conspiracy theory because he just made it up. It's not based on any fact. And that's what I mean when I say he's losing his mind. Like, no sane individual is coming up with something like that. Anyway, moving on to another statement about the media. He said the failing New York Times is fake and corrupt news. Their motto should be, all the fake news that's unfit to print. They are the enemy of the people. Yeah. He called the New York Times, one of the most reliable publications out there, the enemy of the people. And we know what he's saying, right? Like, he's saying the truth is the enemy of him. The New York Times has done some great investigative reporting about Donald Trump over the years, and clearly that is still very much on his mind. They've exposed the many terrible things he's done and the many failings he's had over the years, and clearly he doesn't like that. Let's be clear here. The media, the people who report fact, is not the enemy of the people. People who incite insurrections are. Okay, moving on to another statement, and this one is really unhinged. He said, "It wasn't my fault that Republicans didn't live up to the expectations in the midterms. I was 233 to 20. It was the abortion issue poorly handled by many Republicans, especially those that firmly insisted on no exceptions." And the reason this is so unhinged is because, one, Donald Trump is absolutely partially to blame for what happened to the Republicans in the midterms. And number two, Donald Trump is a major part of the reason that Roe v. Wade was overturned. He appointed 3 of the Supreme Courts on the bench, all of them very conservative and all of them very pro-life. And them being on the bench was the reason that Roe v. Wade was overturned. And that, of course, was Donald Trump's doing. When he was running for president in 2016, he said that he was only going to nominate pro-life judges in order for Roe v. Wade to be overturned. So he got his wish, and the consequences of his actions had Republicans getting destroyed in the midterms in many parts of the country. He will literally do anything to blame anybody else except himself. No matter what he says to his followers, he is a big part of the reason that Republicans did so poorly in the midterms. There's no running away from that fact. And finally, the last statement, which is a real doozy. He said, in quotes, "Trump was right about everything. One of the most often used current phrases or statements. Wow, such a magnificent compliment. Thank you." Does he really believe that people are just walking around saying Trump was right about everything? Because to Donald, newsflash buddy, that's just not happening. There's only two types of people who are still saying this nonsense. One, Trump supporters, or two, crazy people. And to claim that this is one of the most used current statements right now is absurd. I really truly believe that Donald Trump's ego is damaged. After the American people and the entire Republican Party didn't respond well to his announcement that he's running for president, I think he's just going on more and more unhinged rants to get attention from the media. Whether he likes it or not, Donald Trump appears to be old news, and his approval rating and his numbers against fellow Republicans in 2024 polls prove that fact. So anyway, folks, that's gonna wrap up the video for today. I hope you enjoyed. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It would really mean a lot to me if you could do those things. And still, your support means so much to me, I can't even begin to describe it. And once again, whether you like me or you dislike me, thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you folks soon.